Hi all. Welcome to Bible Simplified. Today we take a look at the book of Job. Please stay tuned to get a Bible study on the entire 42 chapters. Let's begin. Job was a wealthy man living in a land called Uz with his large family and extensive flocks. He is blameless and upright, always careful to avoid doing evil. One day, Satan, the adversary, appears before God in heaven. God boasts to Satan about Job's goodness, but Satan argues that Job is only good, because God has blessed him abundantly. Satan challenges God that, if given permission to punish the man, Job will turn and curse God. God allows Satan to torment Job, to test this bold claim, but he forbids Satan to take Job's life in the process. In the course of one day, Job receives 4 messages, each bearing separate news that his livestock, servants, and 10 children have all died, due to marauding invaders or natural catastrophes. Job tears his clothes and shaves his head in mourning, but he still blesses God in his prayers. Satan appears in heaven again, and God grants him another chance to test Job. This time, Job is afflicted with horrible skin sores. His wife encourages him to curse God, and to give up and die, but Job refuses, struggling to accept his circumstances. 3 of Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, come to visit him, sitting with Job in silence for 7 days out of respect for his mourning. On the 7th day, Job speaks, beginning a conversation in which each of the 4 men shares his thoughts on Job's afflictions in long, poetic statements. Job curses the day he was born, comparing life and death to light and darkness. He wishes that his birth had been shrouded in darkness, and longs to have never been born, feeling that light, or life, only intensifies his misery. Eliphaz responds that Job, who has comforted other people, now shows that he never really understood their pain. Eliphaz believes that Job's agony must be due to some sin Job has committed, and he urges Job to seek God's favor. Bildad and Zophar agree that Job must have committed evil, to offend God's justice, and argue that he should strive to exhibit more blameless behavior. Bildad states that Job's children brought their deaths upon themselves. Even worse, Zophar implies that whatever wrong Job has done, probably deserves greater punishment than what he has received. Job responds to each of these remarks, growing so irritated that he calls his friends worthless physicians, who whitewash with lies. After making pains to assert his blameless character, Job ponders man's relationship to God. He wonders why God judges people by their actions, if God can just as easily alter or forgive their behavior. It is also unclear to Job how a human can pacify God's justice. God is unseen, and his ways are unexplainable and beyond human understanding. Moreover, humans cannot possibly persuade God with their words. God cannot be deceived, and Job admits that he does not even understand himself well enough to effectively plead his case to God. Job wishes for someone who can mediate between himself and God, or for God to send him to Sheol, the deep place of the dead. Job's friends are offended that he scorns their wisdom. They think his questions are crafty and lack an appropriate fear of God, and they use many analogies and metaphors to stress their ongoing point that nothing good comes of wickedness. Job sustains his confidence in spite of these criticisms, responding that even if he has done evil, it is his own personal problem. Furthermore, he believes that there is a witness or a redeemer in heaven who will vouch for his innocence. After a while, the argument proves too much for Job, and he grows sarcastic, impatient, and afraid. He laments the injustice that God lets wicked people prosper, while he and countless other innocent people suffer. Job wants to confront God and complain, but he cannot physically find God to do it. He feels that wisdom is hidden from human minds, but he resolves to persist in pursuing wisdom by fearing God and avoiding evil. Without provocation, another friend, Elihu, suddenly enters the conversation. The young Elihu believes that Job has spent too much energy vindicating himself rather than God. Elihu explains to Job that God communicates with humans by two ways: visions and physical pain. He says that physical suffering provides the sufferer with an opportunity to realize God's love and forgiveness when he is well again, understanding that God has held him from an impending death. Elihu also assumes that Job must be wicked to be suffering as he is, and he thinks that Job's excessive talking is an act of rebellion against God. God finally interrupts, calling from a whirlwind and demanding Job to be brave and respond to his questions. God's questions are rhetorical, intending to show how little Job knows about creation, and how much power God alone has. God describes many detailed aspects of his creation, praising especially his creation of two large beasts, the behemoth and Leviathan. Overwhelmed by the encounter, Job acknowledges God's power and authority, but God, however, is upset with Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar for giving poor and theologically unsound advice. Job intercedes on their behalf, and God forgives them. God returns Job's health, providing him with twice as much property as before, new children, and an extremely long life. An analysis of the Book of Job. The Book of Job is one of the most celebrated pieces of biblical literature, not only because it explores some of the most profound questions humans ask about their lives, but also because it is extremely well written. The poetic conversation of Job and his friends is unique in its own right. The lengthy conversation has the unified voice and consistent style of poetry, but it is a dialogue between characters who alter their moods, question their motives, change their minds, and undercut each other with sarcasm and innuendo. Although Job comes closest to doing so, no single character brings one true or authoritative opinion. Each speaker has his own flaws, as well as his own lofty moments of observation. The interaction between Job and his friends illustrates the painful irony of his situation. Our knowledge that Job's punishment is the result of a contest between God and Satan contrasts with Job's confusion and his friends' lecturing, as they try to understand why Job is being punished. The point of the friends' argument is that misfortune only follows from evil deeds. Bildad instructs Job, "If you are pure and upright, surely then, God will rouse himself for you," and he later states that Job is a blameless person. This contrast shows the folly of the three friends who ignore Job's pain while trying to encourage him. The interaction also shows the folly of trying to understand God's ways. The three friends and Job have a serious conversation about a situation that actually is simply a challenge between God and Satan. The fault of Job and his friends lies in trying to explain the nature of God, with only the limited information available to human knowledge. The dominant theme of Job is the difficulty of understanding why an all-powerful God allows good people to suffer. Job wants to find a way to justify God's actions, but he cannot understand why there are evil people who, only to be rewarded with long, successful lives. Job's friends, including Elihu, say that God distributes outcomes to each person as his or her actions deserve. As a result of this belief, they insist that Job has committed some wrongdoing to merit his punishment. God himself declines to present a rational explanation for the unfair distribution of blessings among men. He boasts to Job, "Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare, if you know all this." God suggests that people should not discuss divine justice, since God's power is so great that humans cannot possibly justify his ways. God's onslaught of rhetorical questions to Job, asking if Job can perform the same things he can do, overwhelms both Job and the reader with the sense of God's extensive power as well as his pride. At the end, God is upset with Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar for poor advice. Job intercedes on their behalf, and God forgives them. God blesses Job will double portions of everything he has lost. I hope that the book of Job illustrates God's power and divinity and makes us understand that we are too unlimited as human beings to understand God's plans for us. After all, He is the author and finisher of our destiny and the one who has created us. We are His property. Stay blessed, folks, and join us on more videos on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Bye.